Good evening and salutations, everybody. Thank you for tuning in once again to RambleTech. This week, we are going to be talking a little bit about hobby. What's your hobby? What do you feel like the hobby is to you? How it impacts you? And a whole bunch of different things. So we're going to go to Lee first because I like picking on him. Lee, what do you think of when somebody says the word hobby?
Money. And just the expense, like the investment. We were talking earlier about D&D and how I can't move on to 5th edition because the amount I've invested into 2nd edition. I still run it. I still play it. I love 5th edition and Pathfinder, but I can't afford it.
All right, on to you, Geoff. What do you think of when somebody says hobby?
Yeah, like Lee, money. Hobbies can get pretty expensive. Outside of that, depends on what hobby you're talking about too. There's many different uses of the word hobby.
Yeah, because somebody says hobby to me, and money cost doesn't even factor into me. It doesn't even come up as a thought. Because if your hobby is going skiing, well, you got to factor in driving out to Banff. That's $100 in gas. You got to buy your lift ticket. You got to buy your equipment. You got to buy just food for the day or two. Your hotel if you're staying for 2 days. All of a sudden, you're going out on a weekend, and that's a $400 or $500 day. By comparison, miniature hobbying is actually kind of cheap.
I don't know about that, but my wallet would say otherwise.
Also depends on which gaming you decided to do, right? You want to play board games? Yeah, it's a little bit of an initial output for a single game, but that's it, right? Like I play Zombicide, and other than the occasional little expansion, it cost me $100 for the box set, and that's it. Now, Warhammer, right? You can tell us better than that. How expensive?
It's $100 for a single kit. Yeah. You need 10 or 12 for an army.
Yeah, and then Battletech was a $50 output to begin with. That was 30 years ago. And I didn't have to purchase everything that I've already purchased. I could have just stuck with what I had originally bought. But over time, you slowly invest into it. D&D, I originally started with the original 3 books and then expanded into all these modules and the black books with all the optional skill sets and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it gets expensive. It can get expensive, but it all depends on the game you're playing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It really does come down to what game you're playing. And I find out of all of my hobbies when it comes to gaming side of things, Battletech is certainly my cheapest one.
Most cost effective.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. The new box sets are for mechs are really, really well priced.
Yeah. And extremely high quality. Like I'm really impressed with the way that those 3D printed came out.
Yeah, there's whole different aspects of the hobby now. You can buy it from Ironwind Metals, where you're looking at like $15 a model. You can get some of the Catalyst game stuff where you're looking at, $25, $35 a pack with 4 to 6 mechs in it. Or there's other options that are a little bit more cost effective too.
Yeah, the cardboard cutouts when they brought out the new reinforcements. Really, how many mechs do you get for those couple of pieces of cardboard?
Yeah, if you live in just the middle of nowhere and you only got 1 or 2 people to play with, super effective way to get a whole bunch of things that you can just play with right off the bat.
Yep, exactly.
So now Webster's Dictionary defines hobby as a noun, a pursuit outside one's regular occupation engaged in, especially for relaxation. I think that's pretty accurate. It's not just a gaming hobby. It's not what we do. It could be anything. Some people crochet, some people knit, some people play guitar. All of that, I think, overall, just a hobby is an important thing to have in your life.
Oh, it's a must. It's gotten me through so much, being able to just sit down and play a game. As much as I'm a bigger man now, I was quite much kind of mixed between skinny nerd and sports player, but I didn't play winter sports at all. So being able to hang out with my buddies in the basement playing the TSR Marvel Superheroes or Battletech or whatever, that was hugely important to me because otherwise I was sitting around twiddling my thumbs all winter.
Yeah, see, and I grew up in the prime of computer gaming when it all started, right? So when all the good games first came out, Command and Conquer and
Man and
so
Conquer,
many.
Diablo, X-Wing versus
Yeah,
TIE.
X-Wing vs. TIE, exactly. Yeah.
You're way too young, Jeff. I remember like Sid Meier's Pirates being the game. Right?
Hey, man, Return to Zork. Come on.
Oh yeah,
The Tex Murphys. Yeah, the Tex Murphy games, Wing Commander, all those ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Day of the Tentacle.
Monkey Island.
Yeah, so that's been hobbies for me. Was interaction with other people. It was great for socialization, and it was a necessity for at least for me for winter months, because otherwise, like I said, I was sitting around doing nothing.
Oh, I get that. I've worked at home for the last 8 years or so. If I didn't have hobby, I would have been a complete wreck, because the anti-socialness of just being stuck at home, not being in an office, not seeing people, being able to get out and do something and have something in common with people, super, super healthy, I found. And then the last couple of years happened where we couldn't do that either. But we're finally getting back to a place where, it's nice to be able to say, I can go out every Tuesday night and do a hobby, or I can go out every second Sunday and hang out with my Battletech people.
Yeah, exactly. I think this last 2 years with people being stuck inside, um, you know, online gaming and stuff like this has really taken off and kept quite a few people sane when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and the community for BattleTech, just on whole, thanks to the video game and the Kickstarter and all that, has really made it really exciting to be part of the hobby as well. Like, just to see what's going to come up next, to see what everybody's into, to debate what the best mechs are and the worst mechs and stuff like that. It's just like our Discord channel and our Facebook group is just so busy with people talking about stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
That'll play right into the next part of this conversation that I wanted to bring up. We're using the word hobby a lot, but is it just socialization, or what other aspects of the BattleTech specific hobby do you guys enjoy, touch base on? Lee, what's something in the hobby that is a aspect that you wouldn't just think of off the cuff?
The history. BattleTech will take you from World War II, all of the major events in the 20-year update and all that kind of stuff. Before that, of course, there's 1,000 years of history. The novels, all of the fluff, that completely surprised me. I was not expecting that at all when I got into the hobby. And I can spend just as much time reading as I do playing. Well, more so, actually, because you can do that by yourself. And the conversations, like that was part of why I got into my love of the Draconis combined, but I still wanted to be part of Davian, so I did the Ronin because of reading the fluff, going, oh my goodness, those Draconis people hate mercs. They're horrible to mercs. I don't want to watch them massacre Wolves Dragoons people. That's it. I've got a backstory now for my character that I'm using the fluff to create.
Okay, so for you, a big part of the hobby isn't just getting out and hanging out with people, but it's the 50 odd novels as well as all the different source books and all that material?
Yeah, exactly.
On to you, Jeff. What do you think of, or what's an aspect that comes to mind?
Oh man, part of what Lee said with the fluff and the history, well, as you know from you and I gaming campaign wise for so long, I love the history for BattleTech. I thought, they've done a phenomenal job of fleshing out the eras and the different novels and tying everything together. And props on Catalyst now for trying to flesh out some of the lesser liked eras and bringing stuff up and expanding them. But yeah, I like the fluff, and I like getting out and playing, hanging out with friends, and especially a campaign, building a story, right? I always like the idea of starting from nothing and building up.
Yeah, and on that further note about the fluff, Jeff, was the fact that it gave explanation as to why not every mech was optimized. Why the factions preferred certain machines. The Lyran Commonwealth being super rich is why they could afford the really big, expensive, stompy mechs, and it was a prestige thing. certain factions not being able to get their hands on PPCs, so their mechs were more autocannons or large lasers. It really gave a reason as to why in the TROs mechs weren't perfect. Why everything wasn't a Hunchback 4P or an awesome 8Q. I really liked that because it gave you a reason to play those mechs because you're like, oh yeah, I'm Draconis combined, so Jenners are everything. Panthers are the usual mech. Stuff like that. And it gave you a reason for the flavor, not just a artificial, you're not allowed to have this because we say so.
Well, yeah, just right into that is, this mech was designed as a garrison unit. As such, we've tried to keep the cost down so that we can have more of them rather than, one really expensive mech which doesn't do so well when a company comes in. It's a whole lot better to defend with 8 mechs on our side than 2 mechs that would cost the same amount.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? It explains why you don't see everybody walking around in an Atlas, or you see everybody walking around in something else, right? And then you get quirky things like the Cataphract, which is literally they just took parts to put a mech together so they could have something and build something, right? And they had all these spare parts from different mechs, and yeah, I agree, Lee. It's great on saying, explaining why certain factions have this and don't have access to this factory, so they don't get this tech, or they aren't able to build this in great amounts. And
well, yeah, because didn't the Cataphract come from a lack of factories, so they just used the ones from the parts and then retooled stuff?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was captured Marauder arms from the Federated Suns. That's why one arm looked kind of wonky. Stuff like that. Yeah, and without the fluff, that mech would have made no sense.
Yeah, it would just be a Franken mech, and you're like, well, it doesn't make sense. It's not symmetrical. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look right. It looks like somebody just slapped pieces together.
That's exactly what they did.
So campaign settings is a big thing as well. And that plays into the fluff. You're playing in an immersive environment. You're enjoying all of the fluff, all of the history, all of the storytelling that they put into it, where you feel like, okay, I'm not just sitting around the table having, beer and pizza with the guys. We're actually participating in this mind movie of our own.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, definitely. And the start of the league up again was a great excuse to get out of the house. Once stuff started lifting for restriction wise, and I think a lot of people enjoyed that, and I think that's why the league here and the league in Edmonton has been so successful with new players and just everything.
And I've actually been seeing online, because I'm the one who splatters everything all over Facebook, that other towns and cities are looking at trying to do some form of a league, and it could be based off of our setup. There's the Tulsa Battletech League that has their particular type of way of playing. The Edmonton, like they're all slightly different. It's really neat to see how, because of this new swelling of interest in Battletech, that it's growing in such interesting ways, and people are coming up with similar ideas to ours, but they're kind of trying it out at their own tentative steps.
Oh, it's totally interesting to see that. Now we get the benefit of looking back and saying, we've been doing this or participating in it over the last 20 years, 25 years, with different iterations, different people trying to run the show. So we've had, this works, this doesn't, this is good, this isn't. This caused a really competitive atmosphere, which, while competition can be good and fun, I love going out to league and playing games and being, who am I going to play? Where am I going to show up in the standings? But when we had people like nearly throw other people off of like roofs for a jacket, that's not the kind of hobbying that we want to encourage.
Yeah, there's a point where stuff gets too competitive and people get far too invested in certain things, and then feelings just get hurt, and that's how friendships get ruined and leagues fall apart and stuff like that, right? So,
well, which is why this league no longer has a prize that you really take home. You get plaques and everything, but for the most part, your name goes on the trophy and it gets displayed somewhere, because the people were getting pretty excited, like you said, about those jackets. I think they only did it for 2 years. But right before my time.
Yep.
Yeah. And I heard about the fist fights, or close to fist fights, over a jacket. Like, it is just a jacket.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really nice to have a league that has set fees where people understand that, I'm paying for it so that this is all provided, this is where it's going, and there's pricing support. And I think we're doing it in a fairly good way after all these years of practice. I'm really happy to say that I like the format we choose, where we pay for the necessities, we cover the expenses of running the league, the trophies, the plaques for those couple of key moments and those key prizes, and then everything else gets random drawed at the end of the season. So everybody has a chance to get it, where it's not just like, okay, yay, I participated, I got this. Now we have those as random drawer prizes for a little, like a mecha a day. But at the end, you can be like, I want a lance pack, or I want a map, or I want a carrying case, or I want a painted lance for my next season. Like, you get a professional. We've got a couple of professional painters, so having that kind of stuff can be a memory when you look back down the road and say, that lance came from playing in the league in 2021.
Yeah. And what you were just talking about, the professional painting, Brett, my problem with that is I'm a horrible painter. Like that's the one part of the hobby I can't handle. I can put the minis together. I don't mod them, right? I put them together as is. The only time I do any modding is when I'm missing a piece, like an arm goes missing or something like that. Then I'll slap on another mech's limbs. But that's the one part of the hobby I can't do, because for Battletech, my part of it was competition kind of thing. And not competition as in league, but you have a opponent that you're playing against, whether it's the judges or whether or not it's your friends or whether or not your league environment. And that was what I wanted to play. The painting and the modding of minis just was never something that I wanted to get into. And it's really cool to see the people who are into it, because some of their work is amazing.
I was wondering how long it was going to take us to get around to these parts of the conversation. Geoff, you've participated in many different mini hobbies. How do you feel about assembly?
From coming from, so I started off with Battletech and then went to 40K and then stopped playing 40K for so long and played Flames of War and some of those other miniature games like that, Dystopian Wars and all that, where there's minimal stuff to put together. It's might be throwing some tracks on or changing a turret, and and then you guys tried to convince me to play 40K again, and I bought an army, and I'm now looking at the army beside me over here, still in boxes, going, I really don't enjoy putting these together anymore. There's so many fiddly bits with 40K that I just want the army to be put together. Like I say, I enjoy modding models. I really enjoy doing stuff like that, customizing things. I don't enjoy putting together 40 or 50 models that each model has, in some cases 20 parts, that if I want to put something together like that, I will just build a model kit instead of a toy soldier for 40K or something like that, which is why the new plastics for Battletech, there's having to put together some of the old metal ones, the old pewter ones. Oh my God.
The Vulture.
Just
I hated
stuff.
that mini.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff that you'd have
original
to pin.
Marauder.
Yeah. Stuff that you'd have to pin to get it to stay properly. It's just, no, I'm done with stuff like that nowadays, pretty much.
Now, that being said, the hobby process or the technology has come so far in the last 30 years. Like when we were putting together lead Battletech models back in the 90s, to then going into pewter, where you had to pin and assemble everything. Like we got one guy, Chris, who just loves modding and magnetizing and building everything. If he's got a dozen painted mechs, it's because he's needed to do it for some specific reason, though.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of painted machines. He's got a lot of raw pewter because his enjoyment is putting them together.
Yeah, and I mean, as a kid, I liked model kits, and then I got into these hobbies of Battletech, and I hated putting Battletech miniatures together. But I love putting 40K miniatures together and anything that's plastic, and I love assembling it. And I've gotten into magnetization now. So, like my Space Marines, I magnetize all the arms so I can swap them out for the better weapon combinations. instead of having to buy 3 times the kits because that weapon was good last year. It's not good this year. It'll be good again in 2 years.
I'm pretty sure that's why Battletech's picking up all the 40K refugees.
Yeah, I think people are just tired of the prices climbing for no reason when it comes down to it. With especially, as bad as it is to say, especially with, I don't know, bad, but 3D printers, right? Like 3D printers have made so many games accessible to some folks, and you'll always have the argument of, there's people, they're I don't agree with the folks that profit off other games' IPs. But I'm not going to begrudge somebody that is not able to spend, $1,000 on an army, but can spend $400 or $200 on a printer and make a custom army for themselves, right? Like,
yeah, I agree with you. I don't promote people doing piracy and stuff like that, but for personal use, that's up to them, right? That's your private game at home or whatever group you're playing with accepts it. Totally cool. I don't have an issue with it. It's just not something that League promotes, that's for sure.
There's a scarcity of availability. For many years, you just couldn't get your hands on anything. So people were buying used off of eBay. Thank you for participating, Trouble.
Yay! Trouble the Wonderhound.
In the sense of collecting and assembling, now Catalyst Games is coming out with almost exclusively pre-assembled miniatures in their kits. They do have a couple of what they call extremely premium models where you pay the same value for a single mech as you would for a kit, but you get to build it and assemble it yourself. I think I like the pre-assembled in the sense that for this specific hobby, there's not as much customization. If you're running a Warhammer, you're running a Warhammer. And a lot of people that I know, me personally, as long as you got a Warhammer, I don't really care if it's got 4 guns in the chest or if it's only got 2 guns in the chest to denote the different configurations. If you're running a Rifleman, now this is a really good example because the Rifleman X with the 2 racks is a totally different model than the standard Rifleman with 2 barrels in each arm. But I don't really care if my opponent's running a Rifleman. As long as I can recognize it as a Rifleman, good to go. And it's not a bottle cap, all right, game on.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I think we all just want to play with giant stompy robots, so...
Now, Lee touched base on this. He hates painting. I am not the world's best painter, but after the last couple of years of doing a fair amount of painting, and I've been painting other people's miniatures for hobby money. Being a single parent, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. I actually find it really relaxing and really just calming and enjoyable. And it just, some people do meditation, some people do yoga. I used to go shooting, but everything's been closed for years. I found that painting has picked that up for me instead a little bit.
Yeah, for me, the reason why I didn't painting, I don't have the time for it. I got 2 little kids, a wife, job, and all this podcast stuff. Sitting down and actually running a little painting section, setup, I wouldn't be able to have the time. My yoga or meditation thing is shooting tanks on World of Tanks or War Thunder.
So it's a different hobby, but it's still a hobby.
Yeah, it's just painting. I just don't have the time for it. I also have slightly shaky hands, and you look at what people do online and stuff like that. You're like, oh, I don't even want to bring my mechs to the field with wonky lines and stuff like that.
No, you just paint camo, man. It's supposed to be good.
I just paint them black. They're done. A little bit of primer, and I'm ready to play.
Yeah, I don't mind painting. I used to paint all my armies for like Flames of War and stuff like that. So, you say painting camo, it's like that. No, man, go paint like 15 tanks in a row, and you're just like, okay, I'm camoed out for now. But yeah, and Flames of War and Team Yankee is 15 mil too, right? So it's even smaller than for painting for battle mechs. It's like painting a couple hundred elementals at their size in like World War II uniforms or modern uniforms. It gets a little tedious at the end, but no, I'm with you, Brett. I think painting is cathartic at times. I haven't painted for years until League started up again, and then I painted my lance for the League this year. And somehow, even though I've started painting again, I won the painted lance from one of our players that is joining the league. That's a commissioned painter. So I don't know. I got to come up with something interesting for him to paint.
I'll take it. If you don't want it, I'll take it.
Well, because you want it to be challenging enough that he will enjoy doing it, and you want to be able to look back at it and say, "Yeah, there's a reason that I got that custom painted."
Oh yeah, because some of his stuff he posts in our Discord is phenomenal. Like that most recent Merrick lance that he painted is just amazing. Him and our other painter that is joining the league that does custom painting, both of them, they do phenomenal work, and I look forward to seeing their lances this upcoming season.
Yes, sitting beside them, I'm like, man, I feel bad. But one of our league members from last year had me paint 48 mechs for him, all in different camos. I'm so glad I got an airbrush and I started using that over this last year.
Somebody from the league had you paint 48 of their mechs.
Yep, in 4 different camos for each company.
Oh, nice.
I'm not sure if he's listening or not, but he'll know who he is if he did.
He'll listen. Pretty much all of League listens. That's one thing I'm very happy to see is how much interaction we've been getting.
Well, especially since we started it to be like, we've got 18 people in League. Let's do a little bit of extra content for them for bonus and see if they enjoy it. And all of a sudden we're getting like, I think our latest video is up over 220 views for one of ours.
RambleTech 3.
Yeah, it's our most popular video so far.
Not huge numbers, but for what we were expecting, like 18 to 20 views, it's 10 times what we were expecting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm super happy with just people seeming to enjoy our content.
Yep. And if we find out any league members aren't listening, well then, looks like they've got a slight damage penalty on their next match, right?
Yeah, 500 BV lost.
Yeah.
Well, we've got different episodes that are specifically beneficial, like our map reviews or our rules reviews. People will understand better potentially than the other people that aren't listening.
And the upcoming video for Learn to Play.
Now, we've also got viewers from all around the world. Like, we don't have just local. We've got people down in North Carolina. We've got in New York. We got people in Montana that I know of. I think there's even some people from overseas.
Those crazy guys from up in Edmonton?
Yeah, they almost count. So our podcast travels. Geoff, what's the furthest distance you've ever traveled for a gaming hobby?
Well, I was supposed to actually go to Spain for Flames of War, but that didn't pan out. And then
now, was that when you got the trip that you had and you got those stones and had to come home?
No, that was when I had kidney stones in France. That was just I was on a European trip type deal. But no, there was a chance of myself going for the Canadian Flames of War. Yeah, Team Canada Flames of War for the ETC. So that's the big one over there.
ETC is definitely a different thing altogether on its own.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they do Flames of War and 40K. 40K is definitely their big one, but Flames of War still has a couple hundred players that show up for it. And
I'm familiar with them for 40K.
Yeah, so I had a chance for that, but it never panned out. And then so locally, farthest I've gone is Vancouver. I've flown out to Vancouver, and then I've also traveled to Kelowna quite a few times. We went to Saskatchewan. This was all Flames of War stuff where I was traveling around. But I think the farthest for actual having a game has been Vancouver.
Cool. Lee, what about you?
Calgary. That's about it. It's about a 45-minute drive from where I live. But no, I didn't travel a whole lot for gaming. I was always busy working, doing construction and all that. Didn't really have time to travel too far. I was trying to get League to pay for me to go to Ireland. That didn't work out. I really wanted to play in their tournament. And I'd like to go down to Tulsa. Those guys down from the Battlebound and all those guys. I'm interested in the way they play their league. I'd love to go and scout how they do it, because reading their rules on their Facebook group, you get an idea, but it's not really solid on how they do things. So I'd like to go down there. I'm planning on driving up to Edmonton this year to go check out EBL. If anything, just to kind of wave and say hi, or maybe even drag a lance in if Steven will make one for me.
I've already got one built, and I was kind of looking to see if I can get this to swing to get it as a feasible possibility. And I'm like, nope, just not going to happen. But yeah, I was like, these are the 4 mechs I would bring for that.
We should send up a CBL group of just light mechs. 0-0s
Now,
across the board.
That being said, I have driven to Edmonton for a worldwide Battletech event back in, I think, 2007 or 9 or something like that. I don't know. It's been so far removed that I just don't remember. But me and our buddy Mike McMillan, we carpooled up and we stayed at his sister's place. Went in on the Friday, drove up on the Friday night, played the Saturday, drove home Sunday.
I actually have to correct myself on that, Brett. I did go up to Edmonton one time to play in a tournament they were holding up there. It was, I got knocked out of a steeplechase from a stupid SRM2 floating critical that hit my ammo.
You're welcome. I don't think it was me, but that's something I would do to you.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, it was, that's the furthest I've traveled is Edmonton.
Okay. Now I was here in a 40K tournament this past weekend. And that was an incredibly long tournament, but we had people from Lethbridge, Saskatoon, Regina. I think there was somebody from Winnipeg. And we had a couple of people drop out, but they were coming up from Montana.
Wow.
So it's funny how just different tournaments can go in different hobbies. I am planning to go down to Vegas in January for 40K tournament and to meet some of our fans.
Yeah, that's awesome. Make sure you take pictures. But it also depends on the hobby too. Like if you're into Magic, the card game, then people travel all over the place because there's actually pretty big money in it. Same thing with 40K. Some of the tournaments get pretty big, but BattleTech, the local leagues are about the biggest it gets. The worldwide events are great, but they're not really
company supported.
Yeah, and they're not. Yeah, there's no prize money. There's no real draw to go do it other than your local game store. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. They're just not drawing people from other places because they can just go to their local area and play the exact same game everybody else is playing.
Yeah, exactly. And, for what I can remember, largest gaming-wise has been the stuff that used to be held at Gen Con and stuff like that for Battletech, right? That was...
CalCon and Gen Con and...
Yeah, you'd get like the big cons once a year for stuff like that, but I couldn't even tell you where the biggest BattleTech either tournament or league is held now or any of that stuff.
All right, so not to try and toot our own horn, but I think we're actually currently the biggest organized league in Western Canada for BattleTech. We have now going on to a second season, but we can trace our steps back to the turn of the century, because we can. But Edmonton's just starting up. This is their first league that I'm familiar with in the last 10, 15 years. They've tried to have some before, but it just has fallen through. Grand Prairie wants to talk about a league, but they don't have a site that's big enough. So they're looking at like maybe an 8-person league, but if you only got 2 tables, you can only get 2 games going. What do the other 4 people do? Now, we used to have competitions at CalCon, and we should say there is a one-on-one tournament coming up here next weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It should be interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be an experience. I don't know how good of an experience everybody's going to have, but everybody's going to have a good time.
Oh, I think everybody's going to have a great time.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to prove a point. That's all I'm there to do. If I happen to beat some of you cheesy min-maxers, we'll see how that goes.
I didn't min-max anything, my good sir.
I know what mech you're bringing. We worked on it together.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I didn't min-max anything. I just found interesting things to take.
True.
I took something specifically because I think it was overlooked.
Yeah.
What did we could probably talk about those?
Yeah, we actually can because it's all submitted and required now.
Yeah.
So start off with Lee because you were a challenge,
Yeah, I was challenged to make a Jaeger mech that was actually
not hot garbage.
competitive. Yeah. So I made one with 2 light gauze rifles, 2 light autocannon 2s, 2 ER medium lasers. Going to use precision ammunition for the autocannon 2s to help offset the light guys. And it's a 0 gunner 5 piloting or 4 piloting or something like that. So and it's got the actual enhanced actuator systems in the arms. So it gives a -1 to any weapons that are in the arms. It's kind of like a cheap targeting computer.
So you're not going to miss, but you're not going to be hitting really hard.
No, yeah, that's true. The big thing is I'm going to be able to hit you 25 hexes with 2 light gauze rifles with a pretty darn good chance of hitting. So
yeah, you're not going to miss all day long. It won't matter. You'll be hitting. Jeff, what are you bringing?
Well, I think we should say first of all, though, that what the construction rules were, right? So it was what was it, 2,000 BV, a heavy mech,
2,600.
2,600, right?
2,600, yeah. So 2,600, a heavy mech of your choice, and any tech leading up to just any tech.
Yeah,
you could literally put whatever you wanted on that mech. So,
one clan weapon.
Oh yes, yeah, one clan weapon. No, not even weapon. It was one clan tech.
Item.
One piece of clan item. Yeah, yeah. So I went with a Black Knight. It's going 585 with the Clan XL. We've got the Endo composite for the internal structure. 14 double heat sinks. Max armor, I think it is.
Yeah, clan weapons are nice, but that Clan XL engine is massively game changing.
Yeah, so it's almost max armor using the ferro-laminar armor. It's got a targeting computer, 4 medium X pulses, and a large vibroblade.
Nice.
Yeah.
That thing is going to get up close and wreck somebody.
Oh, one other thing about Jaeger mech, it's the same speed as the Annihilator at Moose 2-3.
Really?
I don't have to go anywhere, right? Hopefully I can crush people.
He's got the range all across the board.
Yeah.
How true, yeah. Oh, and I have my cockpit is the virtual reality piloting pod.
I'm not even sure what that is.
It lowers your piloting by 2 and your gunnery by 1.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so I took the 75-ton Stalker chassis, and I put 2 Arrow 4 missile launchers and 2 tags on it.
And I don't know if people understand the reason why that is such a sick thing. Is onboard artillery fire, believe it's 17 or 19 hexes, and it gets there the turn that you fire during the weapons fire phase, and because you're not targeting the mech, or you don't have to target the mech, you're targeting the hex. And if you can see it, you get a -4 bonus to hit the hex. So it doesn't matter how fast your opponent moved, you're not firing at him, you're firing at the ground at his feet.
Yep.
So yeah, you fire. So it goes initiative phase, movement phase, artillery phase, which is where the tag lasers go off. So if I can hit my opponent with tag lasers, I can fire direct homing missiles in the shooting phase, which hit on a 4-up regardless if you've been tagged. And if I miss with the tag lasers, I'll just shoot at your feet and you can take 40 points of splash damage.
Yeah. So, also, what did you put your piloting and gunnery at? Because you could modify your piloting and gunnery.
I am a 1 gunner and a 5 pilot. So even if I have to try and hit you with those tag lasers, I've got a fairly decent shot at it.
Yeah, I gotta hope that I hammer you quickly in the same location and get an ammo bin or something.
Yeah, because otherwise you got 20-point shots coming in, range measured in map boards, not hexes.
Yep.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I'm a 3 gunner or 4 gunner, 3 pilot, I think, or something to that effect.
Yeah, it was low piloting, so you get that vibro sword going.
Yeah,
and then like one piloting after the cockpit modification.
No, actually, I'm with the cockpit modification. That's right. It was 4 gunnery, 2 piloting. Because after the modification, I was a 0 pilot, and with all the bonuses from the X-Pulse, the targeting computer, and the cockpit, I'm a 0 gunner. Yeah,
It'll be fun. I think the guy who's running the tournament either totally threw everything out the window and was like, let's see what these guys can bring, or didn't comprehend necessarily what was going to be brought to the table.
Oh, he knew exactly what was going to happen. John even said that he wanted to bring people in to see what is available and just make cheesy mechs to go at each other that day.
And it gets everybody talking, right? This is going to be a fun event.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've had a tournament, an actual tournament. The last one I can remember, I ran as a blood name tournament where you start with 16 people. Everybody started on the exact same map. And then you go down single elimination. You go down to 8 people with a different map. And then you go down to 4. And then you go down to 2. And the winner take all.
And yeah, wasn't that Brett for an actual sanctioned blood name too from FAS at the time?
They denied me because they didn't want to set a precedent of giving them out too freely.
Oh, really?
But it's been through 3 different company hands.
Yeah, and not only that, it's still locally recognized. I know who won, right? And he can run that blood name if he wanted to. I don't think any of us are quite geeky enough to run around calling ourselves by our fictional blood names, but he could. I'd recognize it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I want to see if Catalyst will get into supporting leagues or tournaments or anything like that. They don't even necessarily need to do prize support, but if they did, I know for their Kickstarter, they were giving away like mech cards and stuff, putting people's names on it when they were doing the packs. So it looks like they might be trying to get back into the more hobby aspect of it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting if they started doing stuff like that. Sanctioned events that, could lead to winning one of the blood names that's already out there or creating a new blood name or.
Like with Alpha Strike, they've got cards that come out with all the mechs. Just giving away a piloting name on one of those cards is something pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
And I think part of it is Catalyst is getting more comfortable with the IP. They get more comfortable with the product. They know that it's going to stick around. And I'm pretty sure there's money being made. I don't know their numbers, obviously. But I think they're just getting more comfortable with their product. That's why some of these new things are popping up. So one of the things that I know we wanted to hit on when it comes to hobbies was how much of a hindrance and how much does your hobby interfere with the rest of the things in your life?
So Battletech on its own is a fairly cost-effective hobby to get into. As an example, to get into our league, you're looking at $60 for league fees. You're looking at $30 for a box of mechs. Beg, borrow, or hope somebody takes pity on you to trade to get some of the ones that you actually need for the season. So you're looking at $100, $125, whatever. But you're looking at a commitment of every 2 weeks. You are looking at 5 hours game time, and then you're looking at travel time as well for guys like the 2 of you who got to come in from out of town. So you're looking at a full day. Spouses, family, jobs sometimes can't, be committed to that.
Yeah, this is kind of going back to our commitment episode as well. But yeah, that's pretty much been the only downside to this hobby is just time commitment. And not the games themselves, to be honest. The game themselves, you're sitting down to play 3-4 hours. It's everything around it that takes... that it's a commitment to doing it, assembling mechs, choosing them, all that kind of stuff. That is a bit of a downside of the hobby, but when it comes right down to it, it's a hobby. If you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly. And the nice thing is for you, Lee, is that your wife participates in leagues, so that's a plus, right?
Yeah, I was super lucky that she looked at my geekiness and said, I want a piece of that.
She didn't know how big of the piece was going to be, but...
Oh, she saw my mini collection.
Yeah, I don't mind the drive in. It's not that bad. Winter, it's more of a pain, just, other people. But for the most part, I don't mind it. It's nice. It's on a Sunday, so it's not like I'm that busy with anything else. And I don't, if personally, I wouldn't mind if it was every week, but that's just me. being a single guy right now, right? So there's no commitments there outside that.
Now, Lee, your current spouse plays. I've had spouses that play in the past, not necessarily BattleTech, but other games and stuff like that. Has it ever caused any extra friction?
No, not really. Other than Heather claiming that I've never beaten her, right? I finally did it this season. But no real friction, just competitiveness, which is great. Which I think spouses and friends should have. A little bit of competitiveness keeps everything going and fun, and you get to rib each other and stuff like that. Which is another part of the hobby I really liked, is the fact that you get the Canadian commentary while you're playing, and you got a little bit of back and forth going. And I know every place has their local term for it, but it's kind of cool to brain ball and do all that kind of stuff with friends.
I really enjoy it with friends. A little bit less with spouses. I've had some in the past that were a little bit more competitive and learning. So you have somebody that's learning that wants to be winning and be competitive and beat you, but they don't have the skill yet because they're just trying to figure things out. So that was a little bit challenging and a little bit more on the stressful side of the hobby and my impact to my life.
Yeah, and yeah, that's one thing you're saying for true. BattleTech doesn't take long to learn, but it takes a long time to master. To be good at it for strategy and all that, seeing past the numbers, it takes a long time for that. Well, it can take a long time for that, but yeah, I've Heather is definitely learning how to play the game and is very competitive at it. But it's there's things that take time to learn.
Well, now my kid's in the league too, right? So that's another aspect of it where it was like, he wants to beat dad because this is dad's hobby and dad's done this for longer than he's been alive. And that moment where, some people grow up playing basketball and they want to beat dad at basketball, or they want to, beat mom or grandma at cards or whatever it is. I can see the look in his eye where he's had a couple of lucky matches where we played and he's like, yeah, I blew your head off. Haha. But that's luck. I'm waiting for the day that he sits down and he just beats me for beating me. And that look of achievement on his face is going to be awesome.
Oh, you know what? Something actually you just mentioned that I wasn't even thinking about before. We have like 4 father-son combos that are coming into League. It's going to be so... Yeah, well, at least 3 I know for sure. And I had my son-in-law last season in. My 8.5-year-old, she wants to learn how to play, but she'll be at least a few years before she even thinks about League. But
well, Aaron's oldest is just chomping at the bit, and he's not there yet. He's a little on the young side, so he won't be joining us. But I mean, he was more excited about, see the beaten name on this? Look what we won this season.
Yeah, which is fantastic, and things are becoming generational. That's another great thing about the hobby too. I can pass this stuff down to my kids, right? And they can really get into it and be as enthusiastic about it as I am. My eldest had 0 interest in my hobbies. She came to League once, and I have to apologize to her about it every once in a while because she'll remember, like, Dad, that was the most boring 4 hours of my life. Like, well, yeah, for some people, BattleTech isn't a spectator sport. But for other people, they really enjoy watching how the chess match turns out.
Oh man, I love the man, but one of my father's hobbies was like 4x4ing when he was growing up. So he's got a shed full of parts that, it holds value to him and it shows interest to him. To me, that's just a couple 100 pounds of metal that I'm going to have to deal with when it gets handed down to me.
Yeah.
All right, Geoff, anything negative that you can think of in the hobbying?
Outside of cost, really, when it comes down to some things, it can be a negative. The big thing I think is dealing with some folks' attitudes and just the people that we can get pretty serious at times, but there's just some that enjoy tormenting their fellow players or just bashing the fellow players when it comes to either beating them or I think there's a time and place for competitive lists, and I don't think just your standard game is a place for competitive lists type deal. There's a difference between competitive and having fun and just being a competitive dick.
Yeah, that's exactly the same opinion I have, Geoff. The BattleTech League is a competitive league, but you still don't want to go in and just make every game unfun. Yeah, you won, but nobody even wants to talk to you. right? You start getting people like, if I remember correctly, at one point there was even some bounties put on players from the original league because they were such a pain to play. The people were putting bounties on certain mechs.
Jeff and I smile because those were years that we were playing.
No, I know you guys know about it, but mine, it was a rumor.
And I don't remember if it was Jeff or I, but I remember one of us collected on that bounty.
Yep.
But if you don't have the right attitude going into a hobby as well, why are you there? Why are you playing? Why are you sitting across the table from somebody if you can't make sure that both of you enjoy the game?
Yeah, you got to be sitting there to have a good experience with everybody. And it is that social commitment of, I want to play you, you want to play me, and we want people that want to be enjoyable and invited back, because otherwise they're just not getting invited back. Or somebody will be like, so when do I pay my league fees? You don't. Have a nice day. Sorry.
What you're saying there too, Brett, like if this was a $50,000 grand prize at the end of the season, if people weren't bringing the most min-max stuff they could possibly get their hands on, I'd be questioning why they were there. But it's not. It's just a local league with a mediocre prize. I don't think you even come out ahead. I think you come out with exactly what you put in, your $60, and then you might get a few tidbits here and there. But even if you win it all, you're not walking out in pocket in your money in your pocket. We don't give out cash prizes. But if it was a cash type win, I would be questioning why people don't bring their most min-max stuff. But this is still supposed to be kind of fun.
Yeah, no, a few years ago in previous seasons, we did the, top player and best sportsman, you won your league fee back in gift cards to support the local game store, because you know what? They're helping us have a place to sit down and do it. So we're going to help them keep the lights on and pay the rent. So there was points where you would break even. Top 3 different prizes or 5 prizes, you would break even. I am a big fan that we've switched over to random prizing because it gets given out to a little bit more people, and more people will feel that they've participated. And, you get the games in, it works out to be $2 a game, and you still get something sometimes at the end.
Yeah, I'm really happy we give out as much physical prizes as we do, just like that we print out the league packet and give that out as well, because it really feels like you're getting something for your money all throughout the entire season. Like it's right from the very beginning, from when we get ready to play and you've got your league packet, to the playoffs where even the guys that didn't make the playoffs get to play for daily prizes, right? So you're never really out of league. Even during the playoffs, you can show up and play and win something. So yeah, I like the fact that we've rolled that into the way that we do league, because it keeps people engaged, keeps it friendly, because it's not big prizes. Nobody, like you said, trying to throw somebody off a roof over a jacket.
All right, so we're really starting to drift now. That means that it's probably time to wrap this up. Let's get back on a good point. And Lee, what does the hobby of Battletech mean to you?
Community, friends. Almost all my gaming buddies are from Battletech League in some way, shape, or form. Long-lasting friendships too. Like, I still talk to the original commissioners too. We've got possibly a guy who was the second player to join because he was a great friend of Stu. Him and his son are looking at joining League this fall. So yeah, you get this community and you make friends and you get to do things like this. Like, it's so cool to be able to do this with you guys. I'd never been able to do something like this by myself. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. The community is one of the biggest things for me.
Lifelong friends is what it means to me. Jeff has helped me move many times, more times than he probably wants to even remember. He has been there since before my son was born. He's been there for all of the major things. I met both of you actually through Battletech, but Jeff is probably one of the handful of people that if something happens, he's one of the guys that I'm calling. He has made a major impact on my life and will continue to, and he's Uncle Jeff to my kid. And I met him through Battletech when we were both teenagers.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's community, the community and friendships you build from gaming. I don't think I would be gaming if, I wasn't having fun and making friends. And like you said, Brett, I've known you since Alex was even born, before he was born. And, now watching him play in the league and realizing that he's not just a little kid anymore, it's great. Yeah, there's how many nights have I spent sleeping on your couch after gaming one night,
Elementals
right?
on mini bikes.
Or just elementals on mini bikes. Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to have been there for that one, Lee. That was I think about a 3 o'clock in the morning conversation.
We'll have to do RambleTech based off of our best gaming story.
That was up there. That, and through Brett meeting other guys that are now I count as really good friends that I've gone to weddings with, and know their kids and seen their family grow and stuff like that, and just the community that builds through stuff like this, through hobbies and just shared interests, I think is the most rewarding thing for me.
All right, folks. So on that note, hobbies, they're not just an expense. They can bring lifelong satisfaction, and more than anything else, they're mentally healthy, and they are going to get you through thick and thin. So next time somebody asks you, haha, you're a weirdo or whatever, you do this hobby, look at them and say, you know what? Thanks for calling. Talk to you later. Going to go hang out with my hobby buddies because they're going to be there for the rest of my life, probably.
Make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please comment, especially if you have any other topics you would like to see us do on RambleTech. We'll try to hit on it as closely as we do on any topic. It might start off with what you were talking about and then just completely go off the rails, but we'll try. And maybe we'll give a shout out who gives us the idea.
Yeah, we like to ramble, but if you can give us a topic, we'll ramble about that for our half hour, 45 hour, whatever the show ends up being.